What's going on, everybody? This week, instead of a Strokecast episode, this is going to be a solo stroke special video where I just don't shut the fuck up about something for the next 10 minutes. The reason why there's not a Strokecast episode this week is because Prittian is involved in another cross-country move and was supposed to have his Wi-Fi set up by today, but AT&T is ran by rapists and he's not going to have internet till Monday. So, yeah, there you have it. Recently, EA has decided to start putting AI slop into the Battlefield 6 Battle Pass, and this is even more just tone deaf and insensitive on their part, especially. I would even dare to say it's actually fucking gross because recently Vince Zambella died. He's responsible for all the games that I'm sure most of you grew up playing and loving as well as me. Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare 2, fucking the original Titanfall. Like, the original Titanfall is the reason I begged my parents to get me an Xbox One whenever I was 13, because I played it at a friend's house the day it came out, and I was like, okay, well, it's either, somehow get my parents to spend $400 on an Xbox One or never play it, because how the fuck am I going to get a PC at that age? And even recently I went back to go play Medal of Honor Allied Assault, which is a great fucking game. But he's also had his hands in other things throughout the years, like the Star Wars Jedi Survivor series, like those two games, as well as, Titanfall 2, Apex Legends, and I think Respawn even went back and did another Medal of Honor game in 2020 for VR. So the dude's a fucking legend. He deserves every amount of respect he could possibly get, and even more. Which is crazy that a week after he dies, EA completely disrespects him and his legacy by putting AI shit slop into the game that he's almost entirely primarily responsible for why people give a fuck about Battlefield again. What makes this even more confusing to me as well is, before Battlefield 6 came out and like the whole advertising thing they had going on with it, they made it very community first in terms of how they presented the game. They had the Battlefield Labs program. Developers were talking to people and listening to people on Twitter even before announcing, and people were like complaining about some of the leaks that they saw, and they were taking it to heart, and what resulted in that was a pretty good fucking game. Personally, for me, at this point, I don't think the Battlefield games are for me anymore. I think the large-scale combat stuff just doesn't fit my ADHD or my patience like it used to. I have some issues with how they handle the class system, even though I'm glad they brought it back, as well as feeling like the game kind of punishes you for playing even remotely offensively. But that's neither here nor there. There's obviously tons of people that love the game, and it is a great game. It's a lot better than Black Ops 7. It's probably one of the best mainstream FPS titles we've had in close to a fucking decade. So, I'll give them that, and objectively speaking, it's a great game. And you think that EA would have finally had it click in their head of, oh, we listened to the community, and we gave them what they wanted, and they bought this game, so maybe we should keep doing that, because if we give people what they want, they'll give us more of their money. But no, I can't imagine they don't know what the sentiment around generative AI is, right? I'm sure they're not completely out of touch. I'm sure they know that people fucking hate it. So for them to pull something like this just bewilders the fuck out of me, dude. Even besides completely disrespecting one of the greatest creative minds in the industry in the process, even excluding that factor out of this. The whole series of events reminds me of how Nickelodeon has been treating the SpongeBob IP after Steven Hillenburg passed in 2018. Steven didn't want any SpongeBob spinoff shows. He felt that the characters complemented each other in the show well enough, and that taking them off and having them do their own thing would kind of take away from that, which I personally would agree with. But nope, after he died, Nickelodeon greenlit a bunch of SpongeBob spin-off side content stuff, and now we have a fucking Patrick Star show. We have a Plankton movie on Netflix. A bunch of stuff on the side that nobody gives a fuck about. I've never heard of anybody, liking or even talking about any of these shows besides hearing of it like, oh, that got fucking announced. And just to double down on how great of a dude Vince Zampella was and how comically and cartoonishly evil EA is, the day Vince died and everybody was posting about it and sharing their stories of him and stuff, one person in particular, I'll try to put it up on screen if I can find it, but someone was telling a story about how whenever Respawn was first founded and they signed with EA and everything, and EA became their publisher, all that stuff, apparently EA did not like the fact that Vince Zampella provided free soda to, the people at the studio, like all the employees and stuff. So in response, Vince Zampella pretty much took the EA card, out of their account and everything, and told one of his assistants to go down to Costco and buy a shit ton of soda, and went to EA and pretty much said, yeah, if y'all don't cover this, I'll make sure and go tell the team what our new company thinks about free soda. And they didn't fuck with them since after that. So just, a small win, an insignificant win in the grand scheme of things, but the dude always put his team first from what it sounded like. Little shit like that doesn't surprise me, though, given that this is the same company that's won awards multiple years in a row for being the worst company to work for in America. So I can't even imagine what other shit they've been trying to pull with their employees besides being a little upset about some free fucking soda. Anyways, I don't really have much else to say. This company will never see another fucking dime from me as long as I live. Hashtag rape Andrew Wilson. Hashtag nuke EA. I hope you have a nice rest of y'all's day. Peace.